Welcome. Hello. My name is Ed McCarthy. I'm Vicar for Senior Clergy for the Diocese of Orlando. I reside here in Sanford. I work now and then at All Souls Catholic Church, and I've been asked to do a few sessions on what strikes me at any particular time. Today, I've chosen to reflect on the idea of the pandemic as a punishment from God because we are an evil people. If you are like me, when I was growing up, there was this beautiful Bible that sat on the piano, never to be opened, but it was there. And if you had the nerve to open it, you would see that there was many pretty pictures in it. But that was the extent of my Bible knowledge going through grade school. In the Catholic school, we'd hear stories. And one of the stories that fascinated me was Moses. But the story of Moses didn't really come to life until the movie Moses occurred, and then I got a much fuller picture of what happened. As you may recall, Moses leads the people out, and then he goes up a mountain, and he begins to communicate with God. Because he's up there so long, they think maybe he died, maybe he got beat up, maybe he got eaten by an animal. He's not coming back to us. We don't know much about the God he's talking about. So what do? They gather the gold from everybody that could give, and they make a golden calf. They make an image of God according to their image, not according to God who gave Moses the right image. Now, many of us may think, oh, that happened thousands of years ago. That doesn't happen today. And I'm suggesting it does happen today. And one of the clear examples of it happening today are some who would like to say that the reason we are involved in this pandemic is that it's a punishment from God. So they're going to make God in their image, a God who punishes when you and I do something wrong, when you and I don't live up to God's expectation. Now that's kind of tough to reconcile with the Father loves me, I love you as the Father loves me, stay on in my love. That's tough to reconcile so many of the phrases of Jesus that dealt with welcoming everybody. Yes, will there be a particular judgment when each of us die? Yes. Will there be a general judgment at the end of time? Yes. That's not the same as saying that we are being punished by God through this pandemic because of the way we live. In the middle of March, Pope Francis had an evening service in front of the Basilica of St. Peter's. And there are moving pictures of him walking up by himself. St. Peter's Square, some of you have been there. It can hold 200,000 people. Not a soul. He walks up, it's dark, it's rainy, and he begins this service. During his homily, this is what he says. He prays to the Lord, Lord, you are calling us to faith, which is not so much believing that you exist, but coming to you and trusting in you. In Lent, we hear, be converted. Return to me with all your heart. You are calling us to seize this time of trial as a time of choosing. It is not the time of your judgment, but of our judgment. A time to choose what matters and what passes away. A time to separate what is necessary from what is not. It's a time to get our lives back on track with regard to you, the Lord, each other. And then on Divine Mercy Sunday, if we are confused about what it means to get back on track, during the homily of that Mass, this is what he says. Now, while we are looking forward to a slow and arduous recovery from the pandemic, there is a danger that we will forget those who are left behind. The risk is that we may then be struck by an even worse virus, the virus of selfish indifference, a virus spread by the thought that life is better if it's better for me. Everything will be fine if it's fine for me. It begins there and ends up selecting one person over another, discarding the poor, sacrificing those left behind on the altar of progress. The present pandemic, however, reminds us that there are no difference or borders between those who suffer. We are all frail, all equal, all precious. So I suggest for our consideration, when we begin to read or hear people say that this is a judgment of God, how convenient to put it upon God rather than, as the Holy Father says, it's a time for us to judge ourselves. How close are we to that virus of indifference? How close are we from preferring one person or another, or thinking we're better because we didn't get the virus, they did? The research is becoming abundantly clear that in areas that are economically disadvantaged, there is a tremendously higher proportion of those who are affected by the virus. We know this. Do we pray for those people? What do we want to do about that situation, which is certainly unjust? Thank you for listening. My prayer is that we keep God in the image that God has given us. Jesus said that he was in the Father and the Father is in him. Jesus said, "The Father loves me, I love you as the Father loves me, live on in my love." My prayer is that as we continue with this pandemic, that you and I will do less judging and become more merciful. That you and I will always be aware of the danger of being affected by the virus of indifference. Thank you.